Thank you very much, Jason. I'll call the meeting to order at 6:30 PM, and if you'd all please join us for the Pledge Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I didn't see any public comment. Nothing, no department comment updates. So we'll jump right in with a discussion and possible vote for the special event permit 2026 SP3. Approval of the application from Stephanie Gilmit to hold a special event at the Pines Recreation Area on July 18th. Has everybody looked over the permit? Would somebody like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for approval, but I do have a question too, so maybe a second on that.
All right, I'll second that.
All right, further discussion?
Have we done this one before?
Hi, everyone.
believe
So
that VC.
we have done this before. We did this event last year for Sweet Paws Dog Rescue for Groveland, Mass. When we did this event last year, we did it at VZ Memorial Park. We had over 400 people in attendance. We had food trucks, we had an adoption event, we had a craft fair, we had multiple different things. We had kids activities. The event is 100% kid friendly, pet friendly. We did have a police detail. When we did it, the area was a lot smaller, and we've decided to expand the event this year as Sweet Paws Dog Rescue is a major part of Groveland, Mass. It's its home. As a children's author and the owner of SadieLadySecrets.com, I wrote a book called Sadie Lady in the Forever Home, with a new edition coming out this year, which features Sweet Paws Dog Rescue, where we give a percentage of the profits of that book every time it is sold to Sweet Paws along with the event. Last year, we had 2 food trucks, we had alcohol, we had porta potties, we had kids crafts, an adoption event. They brought out 13 dogs, and 9 out of the 13 dogs were adopted. We did this as an annual event for Sweet Paws Dog Rescue. We're looking forward to doing it again in its hometown, just making it a bigger event with more vendors and more crafters and more kids fun and more fun for the entire town of Groveland.
So I saw that you're going to have alcohol present, and we have a children's playground there. So how is that going to be separated?
So what we did is the event would be held in the field, and then we would make sure that we would have a police detail on property so that it is all functional, and wristbands are given out for anyone of 21 plus. The playground area, there is no alcohol in the playground, and there will be signage put out there to make that known that alcohol will stay within a certain vicinity of where the event is happening.
And they will need to apply for a one-day liquor license through the board. But I believe at this stage, they're just looking to see if they can host the event, and if they can, then they'll move forward with the other proper permits that they would need in order to proceed.
Oh,
Stephanie can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's absolutely correct. That's what we did last year. Once VZ Memorial Park approved us to use it, we then went ahead, we got the one-day liquor license, we got the serve safe from all the food trucks, and made sure that everything was set with the town of Groveland. They wanted police detail, and we did that right away.
Okay, so I thought when we did this at Groveland Day, we had to cordon off the area around the beer truck or whatever it was, and you had to stay within that cordoned area with your beverage, so that people couldn't wander around and potentially give it to a underage drinker.
That works perfectly for us.
Okay, good. And so how much of the park will be, like, I suppose it's open to the public, right? There's no admission fee, right?
There is absolute no admissions fee for any of our events. It's completely open to the public. We're probably going to use it like the field that's used for Groveland Day as well as the park. The field and then the parking lot.
Okay, so then all the other facilities will be open to the public. And that sounds wonderful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep, no, it's great. I hope you get placements for all your animals. Okay,
Thank you.
that's my questions.
Anybody else have any questions? Ed? He freeze or his screen froze.
Yeah. These things happen when Comcast doesn't work well.
Can you hear us, Ed?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can now, absolutely. Do you have any questions?
No.
Perfect, then I'll call for the vote. And since you're on remote, we're going to be doing a roll call vote. So Ed?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Jason, yes. Steve?
I'll abstain.
4 yes, 1 abstention. I look forward to the event.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Next is Perry Park Phase 2 Community Preservation Application. The approval is required for submission involving town property. Anybody?
Mr. Chair, if I may, so just to update you, this is just a formality. We are only looking for the board to allow the applicant to proceed with the application to the CPC, similar to what you've done with all of the other applications, such as the Pines lighting, the restroom facilities, the veto, et cetera, in order to actually move forward. Because it's town-owned property or a town facility, the select board needs to give permission that they have the ability to move forward with an application. This is an application for the Perry Park restoration. This is Phase 2. Phase 1 included a conceptual plan. Phase 2 is proposing to further provide engineering and construction documents as well as a refined estimate so that they can proceed with Phase 3, which is the actual construction. It is the hope that we will bring the engineered plan back to the board so that they can review what is being proposed, and at that point in time can offer any insights and any additional recommendations for the actual plan itself, because again, it is town property and would require your approval to move forward. So again, this is not necessarily more so to get into the application. The applicant is actually not here. That's my fault. I should have invited her. But it is just a formality to make sure that she has the ability to present to the CPC at their next meeting. Otherwise, she would not be able to do so because she would not be compliant. So this really is, again, just the approval to submit an application, not necessarily of the project, but to allow this project to move forward.
Anybody have any questions?
Well,
Make a motion, go ahead.
I was going to make a motion for favorable. I spoke with Stephanie last night, and I spoke with Rebecca today, so I understand where we are on it, and I'd love to see that park restored.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any further discussion? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. Ed? I think you broke up a little bit. What's your vote, Ed?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Jason, yes. Steve?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I look forward to those drawings. We're going to move on to the Highway Safety and Road Program update. All right, Arthur.
All right, so I'm, as the superintendent of the highway department, I'm here to speak. I'm not sure if this is a quarterly or annual topic we'll be discussing, but that's great information that public and you guys should know about. We do a lot of things, but obviously highway
Can you
safety.
please turn on the mic?
Oh, yeah, that's what the message on the thing is.
All right, how's this?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
All right, so, like I said, so we, the highway department does a lot of things, but, highway safety and road programs, we're just gonna focus in on that today. So I'm gonna, I put this into two separate categories. We have the previous season, which is what we did last year, and then I'll talk about what we're gonna do in the future. So just to give you a recap, and I think, we did a lot of this work in the summertime, and it kind of overlaps the fiscal year, so it's, it starts, say, in the springtime and ends in the fall time before the winter starts. So we did roadway resurfacing, which is also known as paving. We paved about 3.98 lane miles. That's usually the metric that you use to measure how much you paved. Half of that is how many miles per se. These are the roads that we did this year, as you've probably seen around town. Elm Park Extension, Highland Ave, Merritt Ave, Stalker, and Hardy were very bad and needed to be fully reclaimed. We then did a mill and overlay at Murray Court, Murray Road, Harvard Road, the intersection of School and Salem Street. And then with the DOT, they also did all of School Street from Gardner to Parker Road. So that was a big accomplishment, I think, last year. We did a lot of roads that needed it. We also, last year, established our pavement management program, and we kind of going to be following that. So that's what we did last year with our roadway resurfacing. Line painting, we did line painting last year that has not been done for a while before. I don't know when it was done before, but it needed it. So line painting is basically broken up into two different types. Long line, which is what you see the center line, the yellow center line, and the fog line. That can't be done by hand, that's done by a truck. We're not equipped to do that, no town really is equipped to do that, so you always have that as a contractor that does that. We use the MVPC bid they did put out, and we used their contractor. We spent about $20,000, and they did the entire town of the long line, which was definitely needed. Even the police even thanked us because it makes their job easier. The other work we call handwork. Handwork is crosswalks, stop bars, and parking lots. That can't be done by a truck, and that's something you see. It looks almost like a modified lawnmower, and they have two hands that kind of push it around. So what we did this year, we were going to look into actually hire a contractor to do it, and they charge you per linear foot, and it's relatively not that expensive, but at the same time, we spoke with the highway department, and the guys were willing to take it on as a job. So we invested in a actual line painting machine, and we actually do our own work. So now it gives us the power to go out and do all that on our own. So we did a portion that really needed it, and that we did get a lot of complaints on. If we got it earlier, we might have done the whole town, but what we did do in the fall, we did a portion of the town, which is on the southern portion, Washington Street. We did, actually, the Washington Park parking lot, we actually went and painted that. We did a bunch of crosswalks coming all the way up to Main Street, up to the liquor store there with that big long one. So we did those, we kind of got those in, and I'll show you again, we plan to finish the rest of them this year. So we'll complete the whole town. And that was the machine. We also purchased a hot box, and that was a capital improvement on the capital improvement budget that we got it done. That's an attachment where we can fill potholes and not use cold patch, which is not as good. Now we can actually have a hot mix, and we pick it up from the plant in the middle of the winter and fill them correctly, and it lasts longer. So I think those are big improvements that we made last year for roadway safety and highway safety in our roads program. So this year, our upcoming season, roadway resurfacing, and I have a perspective list, and I can show it to you what we're going to do this year. So we're still putting that together. Before we ever pave a road, we like to vet it through the water department, the gas company, any developments that might be going on in the area. So we don't really want to, obviously pave a road and then have to re-dig it up. We're gonna, at the same time, update our 5-year paving list that's on our website. And it's something cool that we have, and I think it's something that will bring us to up to speed with technology. Is we have this AI-based road analysis software that we bought under Chapter 90 funds. So basically, and I can show it to you. Hopefully it opens up. Yeah, so what happened was they, and this is a 3-year program that we signed up for and we pay for. They have a truck that comes in town, looks like the Google truck, that has the video on top of it. They drive the town. As they're driving the town, you used to be able to do these, probably when I first started my career, they go out and they actually would ride the road and how bumpy it is, and then visually, they'd give you a rating of the road and say, all right, this is your PSR rating for your road, and then this is what you have to do, this is what it rating, and this is what you should do to fix it, and put into your pavement management program. Now, it's all done by AI, and they'll go around, they'll pick up everything. So this year, we asked it to pick up our road conditions, and we also asked it to pick up all our signs and all our markings. And it did this in one run. They did it in like 2 days, and they gave us and I'm not sure why this is not coming up. I mean, maybe if I close this. That's not my, is that my computer? All right. Right here, let me see.
Have it used to seal the roads.
I mean, it's actually, the software's not coming up. Do you know how it?
If you go back to the other screen and you go towards the bottom.
Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is the software we use, and this is kind of what it looks like when they went out, and as they did it, they gave each road a rating. So, for example, you go to here, King Street, you can click on it, and it'll give you the score. 44 is the score, it's poor. And then not only that, it went in and you can kind of do like, say I wanted to see all the potholes in town, and it gives me the potholes, and these little spots, those are potholes. I click on it, and then I can see the pothole. So if you look there, there's a pothole there. It's highlighted as a pothole, so now we get calls on this. We can fix them. We can go up and fix them, have them repaired. Let me see if there's another one too. So here's one on. So the medium pothole there. Yeah, you see the you can see a pothole right there next to the yellow line. So as it's doing this, it picks up all this stuff. Not only picks up potholes, it picks up different types of degradation in the road, and it gives us a score. It also has a public works assistant where I can ask, how many stop signs in town. And it'll tell me eventually, but. Yeah, so there's 105 signs in town. So it spits out all this data, and this is no one counted this stuff. This was all picked up by AI. So it's really cool, and it's really going to help us, not only do our pavement management, but also assess what we have in town as assets. So next year we'll do like curbing, maybe sidewalks, manhole covers. So every year we'll do the road assessment and then add another asset. Those assets relatively don't change. I mean, we're not adding signs every year, stop signs every year. So we have a good account of how many we have. To my knowledge, I did not have any of this information, and it was one of my biggest goals was to actually see what we have as for assets and stuff like that. So that's what we did there, and it's really a software that's, I think, bringing us up to the times and ahead of times. I don't know a lot of towns are using that. So kind of go through this really. So that, again, so the civil, the same software, it gives us asset inventory. So we know how many markings are out there and what we need to actually go paint and count it. Again, line painting, for the handwork. So we did do our line painting. That long line should last us 3 years. That's what they say. I mean, minus really bad winters and heavy sanding and salting. But we plan to finish the entire town and also parking lots in the next season. Actually, I think VZ Park also wants us to help, and we're going to be doing some line painting up there too. So it's a great resource for us to have and be able to do it. And then pothole repairs. So obviously our pothole repairs, I get calls all the time, and I'm sure you hear about them. I'm sure you drive through them. And we do have now the hot box equipment, which helps us for our repairs. And we also have an online request form on our website, and actually, hold on. Yeah, here it is. So you can see, if you go down on our website, there's a yellow box, and then we encourage, you can call us, but we also have an online solution. We can go and, I think maybe even anonymously say there's a pothole on my street, and then I get that information, and I can forward it over to our highway crew immediately, so it's really a good valuable resource to have. We advertise it on our social media, so people can get the word out there that we have this tool now to use. And that came with the new website, right? We didn't have this before. So that was kind of, not nothing we paid for, we just kind of was built in there, and we kind of modified it so that we can get people to go online and give us, any, if they have seen anything, and not only potholes, obviously, if they see anything, they can go on there. So this is my final slide, and these are just potential roads we're doing. I haven't vetted them completely. The water department did say that they're not going to be doing any work here, but I want to try to focus a little bit more on some really main drags where a lot of people are driving through. So King Street, we can't do all of it, as you know, it's very bad. King Street is, a portion of it is set for some utility work, but the other portion can be paved. So from Katy Lane to Kingsway, we're going to do an overlay. Center Street from 7th Star to Bear Hill Road, which is very bad, so that's a good portion that we can do. And those are just overlays. And then our reclaims, the streets that are just so bad that we have to reclaim. There's a circle of streets that been on the list for a while. It was Doris, Wilbert, and Dare Run. It's like a big circle. So, and then Dana Road, which is also pretty bad, and just requires us to be out there a lot, fixing a lot of potholes and whatnot, and needs to be reclaimed. So those are the roads we are set to do, but we still have to vet them with the gas company and the water department, and still have a conversation about them with conservation. We have to file for conservation, and then we still have to get approval from Chapter 90 before we do this work. So we're in that. We're now just kind of getting into that cycle where we're doing that, so we can start to pave in the springtime. So and that's all I have for our update. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
Anybody? Ed? Any questions?
No question.
Steve?
No questions. This is great information.
Becky?
No questions, just comments. I like just based on those purchases of that line painter and the hot box, that probably makes it so you can have more agility in taking care of these work orders, so that's fantastic. The work order requests on the website, love that, because it's probably easier for you when you have things coming through one channel, right?
Even though they come through
Yes.
like phone calls, and that's actually, I had this conversation with the town administrator that, I'm getting them from all these different angles, and I'm trying to put them on, but
Yeah.
this, I think, people are gonna start using more online anyways, so.
Yes.
I think the younger generation, will go on.
We're drawn to that more
Yeah.
now with other parts of our life as well,
Yeah.
too. And that software, I really like that. I think that takes that guesswork out of, your plan, so you can refine your strategy a lot better.
Yeah.
That was really impressive and pretty cool, so this.
Yeah, and it's a technology, and it's not that expensive. It was Chapter 90 funds that let you use this type of software to develop your roadway paving program. And I think it was a great asset for the town to have that now, that we can, and we can incorporate it with our GIS and stuff like that. So it's definitely what we need to be doing
Yeah.
as a highway.
That's great, thank you so much. Those
Yeah.
are my comments.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Kathy?
Yeah, just a couple of things. When the truck that drives around the town that records the road conditions, who drives that truck?
The company itself, they have like a big camera on top of themselves.
Okay, so is this, you said it was a grant, is it a one-year grant, or is it?
It's 3 years.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
3-year contract with
Okay.
them, and then they go around 3 times. Actually, we actually were gonna do it in-house ourselves, like, they were gonna give us the equipment, we were gonna
Yeah.
attach to one of our own trucks and drive it too.
Yeah,
But they ended up doing it themselves.
okay. But you think they might, well, it'd still be their equipment though, right? So it's just the lease of the equipment for 3 years?
No, it's just the software and the information that we pay for in the account. We don't lease any, we don't have, it's their equipment.
Right.
And
but I
then, actually,
mean-
forget, it's not even, it's their equipment, but it's pretty much, it's become so simple that it's like an iPad can do it.
Right, but somebody has to drive
Yeah, yeah.
around and record it for it to happen.
Yeah, it takes one.
Yeah, and I understand you have the software,
Yeah.
so they will do all the driving around
Yeah.
part? Oh, okay. It's really neat. The only other thing I wondered about, and I know nothing about these things, but that catch basin cleaning,
Okay, yeah.
what, we used
Catch
to have.
basin cleaning, and I did not, there's catch basin cleaning and street sweep, and I did not include them on this presentation.
Okay.
I mean, they fall more than, say, our wastewater, I mean, our stormwater program, but I mean, I guess, like, that's where I could have talked about that too, but what we did is, under the MS4 permit, a town should be cleaning all their catch basins every year for at least 2 to 3 years until they develop an optimization plan, which means then we're gonna go out and just only clean the ones that are always full because we have the data. So
Okay.
we don't, but to clean all our catch basins, and again, we use the MVPC grant, and they gave us a favorable price because it's all the towns get together. But to do all of them in town, it would cost $40,000 to clean every catch basin in town, which
Yeah.
is a lot out of our budget. So
Yeah.
we haven't done it for a long time, and they're very full. Like, the contractor was like, he's like, I can't believe I bid this by the per catch basin because they are so full. But
Okay.
nevertheless, he did them anyway, so we only did half this year. We
Okay.
did half the town, but while they're doing them, they're also recording it through an iPad on site, and also sending that information to the GIS.
Okay.
And they're recording how much they're taking out of each catch basin and what they're doing. And then also, if they find any pollution, they let us know. Say someone's dumping oil in there or something, they let us know. So that whole program, that was done in the fall time.
Okay,
So but it also helps flooding too. So like, all these catch basins that are full of sand,
yeah.
they tend now not to flood. So that was that part.
Oh, okay. So that's something that's under another category.
I would say that'd be more under our stormwater, our drainage, our maintenance of our drainage system, not necessarily, I mean, I guess they're in our roads, I certainly can talk about these things, but I kind of honed it down to like what we're doing for our roadway improvement.
Right, right.
Catch basin cleaning is something, is more even on a maintenance level that we should
Yeah.
be doing. Because,
So- But we don't have the truck that does
no,
it.
we don't have the truck. We did at one
Yeah,
point, years
yeah.
ago, I guess, to buy one. It'd be great to have one, and some towns have them, some
Yeah.
towns share them.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have one, because I think it's a good and easy type of thing to do, like because it's something that we could do in-house, but I guess the truck itself is not cheap.
Not cheap, okay. And just out of curiosity, you said 3.98 lane miles completed. Is that like the norm for how far the Chapter 90 and our?
Yeah, I mean, look,
Yeah.
so if you took off, so you have to also, there was also one extra mile added in there because of the state work.
Okay,
So this year, we'll get about 2.5 miles. Last year, we got about 2.5 miles with that money. There's definitely an average in there somewhere, but like, what happens is like, a road that you just go out and just take off an inch and a half, and you put back an inch and a half,
yeah,
is much cheaper than reclaiming the whole road. Actually, it's 4 times more expensive. So
right,
if you don't catch up to these roads, for example, we've looked at a portion of King Street or something. I don't want to speak, but we've looked at roads that are very long. Rollins, I think, for example, is
Yeah.
very long, but needs to be reclaimed. That one road or that one portion that we've measured out can take out our whole $250,000 budget, or $350,000 budget.
okay,
So it's also the types of treatments.
yep, yep. And I remember you explained that you want to do the
You want to mix.
mill and overlay as much as possible so you don't have to get to
Yes,
that.
and you want to mix it up. You don't want to only do the worst roads. You want
Yep.
to do roads that you don't want them to become bad.
Right,
So
right,
that's why I want to try to get some main thoroughfares done before they become very bad.
right.
So those are what we're thinking. Those could change. Nothing's really set in stone, but we have to, we need to get this list to the contractor probably by early spring.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
So then I think I have a question for the board in terms of how often we'd like this report from, this update, I should say.
So this was part of your select board goals, so this is an annual update.
Annual update?
She got
Perfect.
right to the
Oh.
job. He isn't coming
There
in
you
every
go.
week.
Your answer.
Well, I'm not, like I said, I can come in if you guys and do like a much more general about the entire department, but I'm not sure if that's covered under the annual report. So there's like a lot of overlap there too, so.
No, I think an annual
appreciate
update is
the
great. I
time.
think, unless there's something that you or Rebecca would like to bring to the board's attention, I don't see it would be necessary.
Yeah, and it's always, I always try to communicate to people like what we do. I think a lot of people don't know what we do. Sometimes people say, oh, you're just a highway department, but we do much more than that, cemeteries and public grounds and buildings, so. As anywhere I can try to tell people that what we kind of do, and explain it, so.
Steve?
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, I think the only thing I'd like to see is, once that plan is kind of finalized for what roads you're gonna do,
Yeah.
maybe just share that with us so that we
Yeah,
can
and
know
I'll send.
what the final plan looks like.
I'll post, I plan on posting online and obviously, she'll look at it before we kind of publicize it.
And I misspoke, it's not annually, that was above, it's quarterly.
Oh, perfect.
Oh.
Even
So-
better.
So I think because you don't do any paving or any real work in the winter, and you don't have your final plan set till the spring,
Yeah,
I think it's something that we could probably do spring and fall. So we could get what you've done
yeah, and that's what,
and then what you're gonna do.
yeah, and I think that's the best way of doing it,
And then you can always come back in if there's something else you want to bring up.
yeah.
How's the board feel about that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Or maybe we change that to biannually?
Do we need to vote to change it?
I don't know, Rebecca, I think just change that.
I can
Consensus
just
of the
make a
board.
change on the
Okay.
form.
Well,
Everybody's in agreement.
I think it's a good idea, like, as the winter closes, which we hope it does, that we get an update from Arthur on how things went, and obviously how much it costs, and, because we do run over a lot of times on that budget. We know that. We know it's set up that way. We don't, we don't want to,
Talking about
Overshoot.
snow removal and plowing and stuff?
excuse me?
Snow removal and
and ice, yeah.
plowing?
Yes, yeah, just to get an update on how it's
Okay.
working out.
I've come up with some maps this year, actually, we've come up with some maps in winter management plan. So there's stuff like that in the works that we're trying to, so,
When I first moved to town, the plan was you called Tom Fairbanks home, and his wife answered, right? Very nice. And you'd say, it's noontime, my road is still not plowed. Could somebody please come plow? And they would do the best they could.
no, and I think,
It was
yeah. And I think with a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, I'm trying to
Yep.
try to get into
come a long way.
some planning documents that we can kind of use and go forward with. instead
Great.
of Just kind of being on the fly a lot.
I think that would be interesting. I mean, I don't mind keeping it quarterly as long as it doesn't interfere with his schedule too much or anything.
Oh, no problem. Right.
It's a learning curve for me.
Yes, I think it's a learning curve for a lot of us.
What's that?
Yeah, you can't sit in the front.
The,
Yeah, go to the back row.
the,
For keep,
Are you, the planning, are you looking for the planning board meeting? Yeah, that's actually in another room. Yeah. I know.
well, my students do the same
You'd be
thing.
very
Nobody will sit in the
disappointed
front
staying
seats,
here.
right?
and I'm gonna ask Arthur to stay, because our next two items are within his department too, being the Washington Street and Salem Street intersection, and also the presentation to the Library Board of Trustees for the use of the donation funds for some of the preliminary projects that Steve McPherson, the Highway Building Facility Supervisor, had come forward with in addition to Arthur.
Awesome, we'll move right on to the Washington Street and Salem Street intersection.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I don't know if Mr. Thomas is here just for his appointment. We could perhaps go out of order if you don't
So
want
he can
to
cut
spend the
him
whole
loose?
evening. We don't want to spend the whole evening here. Well, I am too, no, and it's no disparaging here.
might wanna-
I'm just
wanna learn
thinking
about all this
like,
stuff.
he took the trouble to come down for the appointment, but it's up
sounds good to
you.
me.
Do we need
Go
to
ahead.
vote to take it out of order?
Nope, not at all.
Oh, okay, so I'll make a motion to appoint Lee Thomas to the Historic Commission, right? Is that the name? Starting, I don't have the date in front of me.
January 20th,
Yep,
2026.
starting to January
through June
20th
30th, 2028.
to June 30th, 2028.
I'll second.
Ready
that.
for this?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No, thank you for
Would
volunteering.
would you like to get up and say a few words? You don't have to.
No, Mike and Claire asked me to do this, and I think it's an important thing to do, so
Yeah.
I'm glad to agree to it.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll have a vote, a roll call vote. Ed?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes,
Becky?
Yes.
Jason, yes?
Yes.
Steve? Yes. Unanimous. Thank you very much.
thanks.
Should you just handle the second one, since we're doing?
Since we're doing the appointments, get them all out of the way. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to appoint Emilio Dunn to the Finance Board effective January 20th, 2026 through June 30th, 2026.
Second? Who seconded it?
Oh, I'll second it.
Oh, I
Any
thought,
further discussion? I'll call for the vote. Ed?
Yes.
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 Kathy?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
Jason, yes. Steve?
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you, Emilio. All right, so now we'll backtrack and go back to Washington Street and Salem Street intersection, which I believe is something that you wanted to discuss a little bit further, Kathy. You said you had some residents that were concerned about the backing up to the traffic?
Right, well, I mean, and I mean, living near there and watching it, yes, I mean, I love the plan, I love the, I mean, he hit on all the things that were brought up by the study, including, you know, the telephone pole, the overhead lines interfering with visibility, the tree canopy interfering with visibility, the need for better signage, that's higher, I guess, right? Where we still have, our signs are too low. The access from, I guess, the apartment building that accesses Salem and Washington Street, I mean, very, very good coverage of all the issues that were raised with that intersection. And I would just want to see all of these other measures put in. I mean, at some point, if we have to put in a traffic light, we have to put it in. I guess I'm wondering what mandates that. I mean, I'm guessing that it's something like when drivers get too aggravated with too long a line at a four-way stop would cause that to happen. Too much traffic backing up on one side, right? But I don't know that that's happening yet. You know, I know it's a lot of traffic on that road. I'm not saying there's not a lot of traffic. Traffic has definitely increased on those two roads. And the study showed that, you know, that this is a cut-through. Cut-through Washington Street, a cut-through up and down Salem Street. And it was kind of funny, the number of cars. It was like 6,000 cars a day or something. It was out of, you know, that's obviously not the residents just going to and from. But, you know, we do have homes that are right situated on that intersection, and you think, when you get a traffic light, traffic stops. And traffic stops, blocks driveways, right? So, you know, I guess I'm wondering, you know, how do you wait, if you're going to wait, what do you wait for? I mean, to just,
Should I speak there, or?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm just curious, yeah, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, because I'm just like, how do we know when we have to, when we really should have to put a
Report
light?
says that we're not at that threshold right there yet.
Good,
So that's what I have up on the
Yeah.
screen, the three measures in which you would need to meet and what ones we have met and which ones we have not met.
okay.
Yeah, so that, we haven't met those thresholds yet, so, but what we can do there, we can do, not actually put signalization, but we can just put in, we should improve the intersection as it is a little bit quirky, where like, you know, the auto body shop has, you know, kind of taken over the sidewalk. I mean, we were trying to make it more friendly for people that are walking there.
Right.
Maybe this, and also the site with the canopy, and then maybe the parking with that little vacant lot, that parking lot, can maybe help people coming in and out of that quick. So there's things I think we can do, and I think they mentioned in the report that we can we can just do some improvements, even just do some line painting there that will help traffic along and not actually put the signals in. So we can just do an intersection improvement without signalization. I guess signalization is, once you put it in, it's going to be there forever. And we obviously, and not only signalization that keeps us safe, but it's also something else we have to maintain. So we don't really want one there.
Okay,
I don't think we should put one in, not just for the sake of it. Because once you put it in, again, we have to maintain it. We have to program it. We have to,
right.
it becomes an asset to the town, has to pay for.
Right, and you mentioned too doing the, I don't know what you call it, that hashtag line painting on the
Yeah.
side. I noticed at the end of the driveway here, I like it, because, it causes you to make that turn more carefully and
Yeah,
more
calming.
slowly.
That's called calming, where
Calming, yeah.
So it's traffic calming, where there's stuff we can explore too, where they can put heavier paint on the edges. And what the theory behind that is, if you want to narrow it down so people go slower. So, and I think there's more of a problem of people coming from Haverhill going down Salem Street than people going through Washington Street speed-wise.
Right. I don't have the vocabulary for it, but there's a type of a truck brake that I've seen signage in other towns where it says, you can't use these.
Oh, air
Right.
brake? Is it air?
Engine braking,
Yeah.
Is
Jake brake.
that it? Okay, they're like a white sign, I've seen them, and some people say that would cut down on the noise level for.
There is a lot of, just from being out there on our project, on our dam project out there, there's a lot of trucks that go by there, septic trucks all day, and trucks that are going in and out of, so there is a lot of high, truck volume there too.
Right, is that something that, I guess they didn't notice it in the study, how would you, I guess, unless you live there, so you would
I hear
hear.
it all the time.
So you know those kind of break?
Oh, I sure do.
They're really loud?
Very loud. They shake the house.
Yeah, I'm not sure,
Oh,
yeah,
they shake
but
the
I'm not
house.
sure that,
Okay.
I think they look at just at volume and types of vehicle when they do these things, and I'm not sure if the type of vehicle also triggers the need for signalization. But I'd have to look at that, but I'm not sure the type, just the volume.
Yeah, I don't know I just have seen the sign in like another town, and I thought, oh.
I'm not sure.
Do we
I've-
just do that, or do you have to qualify? I mean, I don't
I
know.
don't know how enforceable that is, it's more of a suggestion. But he would know, he has, Dave,
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of making sure if you have a load that you can actually stop for the stop sign.
yeah,
And you use your engine to help slow you down, and the engine makes a lot of noise.
yeah.
So if you're coming up at a stop sign and you're fully loaded, then they're going to use it regardless of the sign.
Yeah, exactly, so. Yeah, so that was what I took away from the report itself.
So can I just make one point of clarification? The report does say that signaling is warranted at that intersection. If you read the report that we received from the consultant, it says, based on the MUTCD warranting metrics, AWSC is warranted at this intersection, and the worksheet is attached. So it does say that we meet the criteria. I agree that doing it without trying other things, we should see what we can do first, but I will also say, as someone who drives that intersection probably 5 times a day, I probably either almost get in or see someone almost get in an accident 3 of those 5 times.
Right,
So we definitely need to figure out how we're going to prioritize some of the items on that short-term list and start to do them, because I think it's only going to continue to get worse.
right, but I also think the report noted that the incidents of accidents or something, we didn't qualify for any money towards this expense, and it's a significant expense.
We would need to apply for money.
Yeah, yeah,
And there's a few different avenues we can go.
Correct.
And
Right.
ultimately, we don't have the traffic from the apartments yet.
Yeah.
We don't have the traffic from Bradford, which they didn't even take into consideration when they did the report. And we're all aware of what's been passed in Bradford in terms of the units that are going in.
Right.
Which is far more substantial than the units that are going in at Salem Street. So the traffic is going to get worse. And we're not looking at doing it tomorrow.
right,
The steps that were originally put as short-term is just that, short-term improvements to get us to the point where, once the traffic really picks up because of the apartments getting full here, Bradford, and in Haverhill, then we'll be in a better position to move forward with the traffic light and finding the proper funding, because we have it all lined up.
Yeah, you want to have the design, you want to have it designed to anticipate lights being put in. You don't want to do that. You don't want to move backwards, because it might involve, those ramps are all going to be concrete ramps, or granite, or maybe some granite curbing there, so that that will get more expensive.
And I think where, I guess a question that I have is, if we look at their kind of short and mid-term lists, have we, or could we take a look at prioritizing those in terms of where we think we would see the most impact? And then, because obviously we have to figure out, you know, what the cost would look like and how we could implement those things. But it would be good to get kind of a list, an ordered list of, you know, here's the things we think we could do in the next 6 months. Here's the things
Yeah.
that we could do in the next year. And, you know, here's where we need additional funding, because I think we need to do something sooner rather than later.
Right, but I think Arthur's presented a really great plan and list, and I think maybe what you're asking for is for him to put a timeline on this.
Yes, that's what I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
the
this is
list
a
is-
very detailed list, I really like it, and I love the plan that accompanies it. It's very, very easy to follow and very easy to read, and couldn't have asked for more. And he has short-term improvement plan attachment 1.
Yeah, I guess
That's
just
that.
for my own clarification, the list came from the consultant, right?
Yeah, the consultant.
So what I'm asking is, can we take that list and
Yeah, and
and
that's-
prioritize it?
That would be the next step, and then
Yeah.
obviously, you want to attach a dollar value to it, and then you figure
Exactly.
out where the money's coming from.
Right.
That's pretty simple to do, but we'd have to maybe be in some sort of agreement on the future of, you know, if you're never going to put a signal there, then it's going to be a whole different project than if you are. Because, I mean, if you can see what they want to do there, they want to, you know, we have to go out there, first of all, survey the thing and find out where our property is.
Yep.
'Cause right now, it doesn't,
Right, yeah, I think that's important. We need to figure out where we've lost some ground
and
here.
there's also improvements here that if you look right next to the,
Yeah.
if you look right next to the auto body shop, there's a wall there, but there's a sidewalk that does not connect to anywhere. That should be connected.
Yep.
That should all, it should all be looked at in a bigger sense of how to get people to walk those areas,
Correct.
you know?
Agreed.
Yep, I mean, honestly, like, a good portion of the day, there's not much traffic at that intersection. It's just, you know, during certain hours of the day that you'll
At
see.
3:30, there was definitely a lot of traffic.
Well, yeah, well, that's when the schools get out and other work gets out. But that's what I'm saying, but I mean, you know, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., you're not going to wait in line there, not for more than a couple of minutes. So, you know, before we start, you know, spending $500,000 on a traffic signal, I'd like to see the clean up the, I like the idea to negotiate with the electric company on the removement of some of those poles that may not be necessary, and also may be impeding the vision and the lines.
Yeah,
They're like all over the place, so it'd be nice to see if we can clean that up a little bit, because I never thought about it before. As you come up there, you do see telephone poles and lines, and now, oh yeah, there's the stop sign, you know what I mean? It takes a minute to kind of figure it out where that is, you know, all the
And
other
that stop
stuff.
sign is actually, it's blocked by, partially by a pole.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, so,
And then, and if, you know, and I think that stop sign's is it on the telephone pole?
not,
It's on its own
it's
pole?
on its own sign.
Yeah, I think probably at one point it was probably on that pole, you know, like, so it's definitely yeah, I think the town, obviously, it's almost growing pains now, and more people are driving through town, and these small intersections are gonna have to be addressed,
Right.
and this is probably the first one.
So would it be worth it, like, to get one of those things that, like, measures the speeds, like, the thing, and then see if some of these other things, like the lines and all, start to,
Well, I think they did that,
Have an
they went through that within this, so they've established some of that,
okay,
and then, but I think we can go through their suggestions and then see, put a value to them and see,
okay.
and they can see what we can address, and maybe do it slowly.
Right, I mean, I just, like I said, you put in the stoplight, immediately during the heavy times, what's going to happen is the backup. Look at Georgetown now. That was a
Oh,
four-way.
it's bad.
It's horrible, you know, and I don't want that to happen to Salem Street unless we absolutely really have to. you know? It doesn't seem worth it right now to me to cause that kind of a traffic backup in front of people's driveways and homes.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get that type of traffic backup. I mean, you look at Salem Street and School Street intersection,
Well,
you don't get that type of backup there
We
either.
didn't have that type of backup in Georgetown either for a while, okay?
Well, and it's also,
It
I mean,
just-
there's other considerations, the program, the lights are programmed different at different times. There's a lot of engineering that goes when you put in the
Into all
lights. It's
that.
not just the lights signal is gonna be what it is. It's, morning it's different, and the afternoon it's different, you
Right.
know, so.
Well, obviously, your opinions and your advice will be,
well.
well, no, seriously, welcome. Don't feel like you can't say what you think. It's, it's fine.
Anybody else have any questions for Arthur?
Well, I think I'm on the same page as what Stephen mentioned, having, I think at the last meeting, I was a little bit surprised. It almost seemed like we were jumping to a light, and so I was a little bit concerned, so I'm glad now, it's like, no, let's just do these, take care of these short-term tasks first, and maybe gauge the impact that even those
Yeah.
things make, right? So maybe buy us a little bit of time. I think we have that fine line between being proactive, right, with these apartment complexes going up, but also being like too quick to
Yeah.
fix a situation that may not be there yet, right? I don't want to be overreactive to this. So the idea of having these things listed out, maybe get an idea of where your head's at with a plan, keeping in mind, and I know what you're saying, if we're going to plan to have lights, that's going to shift how you set this up,
Yeah.
right? And
The thing is, I mean,
But we have an example of this
Yeah.
in the community. We had the traffic lights over at Salem Street in front of Nicole's Market over there.
Yeah.
There was no signal there. When that project was permitted and when that went through the tip process, when Bob Arakalian was here, he wanted to put a signal there, but it didn't warrant a signal at that particular point in time. So what they ended up doing is they designed it to be able to accommodate a signal at a later date. And that's some of the things that we're talking about. If you're
Right.
starting to add sidewalks and you're starting to add more of those structural details, we can start to design the intersection for a light at a future date, way down the line. But we have to take that into consideration when we're doing all of those short-term designs, because if you start messing with the layout and the intersection, what happens if you do warrant it later on all of those thresholds, and you just spent a bunch of money that you're gonna have to rip up?
Right.
So it needs to be
Right.
more of a thoughtful process, like you're saying.
Yeah.
But we have done this in Groveland before, and that is a perfect example. And that's why it was designed the way it was with the openings and everything, but there was never a signal until eventually with Chesterton and the new apartment complex, it warranted it.
right, okay.
And actually, you bring up a good point, though. With that other intersection where we put in at Salem and School, where we put that in, what was the timeline of that process from like approval to actual implementation?
I'd have to double check, but it was a long process for that
was.
project to get completed, because I do know that there was a lot of eminent domain takings and whatnot from the Route 97 perspective. As to the intersection and the design component, I don't believe there was much pushback there, but I'd have to double check, but I can get you that information.
I'm just curious, because again, when we start talking about, do what we can do now versus what we may do in 3 years or 4 years, I'm guessing that is probably how long that
Well, Steve,
Salem Street.
she said it went back to Bob Arakalian, the elected road commissioner. So you're going back past Rennie.
Yeah,
So we're going back, more than 5 years. We're going back like 7, 8 years, maybe, 7 or 8 years more, something like that is what it seems like, if it was started with Bob Arakalian. Yes.
But I can get you that information.
So you'll be retired by the time we get a light here.
But just to put it into perspective as to what Arthur's talking about as well.
yeah.
And that's
Like I said, my philosophy is no, less lights is better from a maintenance standpoint. Obviously, safety's first, but think about it. You don't want those, as those lights obviously they tend to malfunction and have to be reset all the time and stuff, so.
Do you think there would be like, oh, maybe Rebecca would be better at the funding for that sidewalk that stops? I mean, should really go
Well,
all the way up.
the whole
So-
sidewalk is not even ADA compliant. So those are
Yeah.
things you have to start looking at if you start altering that.
But that would be a great sidewalk, because it would go right all the way up to
These-
VZ
yeah.
Park and the fishing and everything, and it would provide a safe way to get there on foot, which we don't have right now. You have to walk in the road. in the
I
mud.
walk in people's yards. I apologize to the people, but
Sorry. Just walk by, sorry. Yeah, no, I like the thing, and I think, putting some kind of a timeline in with what Rebecca just mentioned, keeping in mind that we don't want to have to rip everything out if a light has to go in 8 years from now or sooner, but maybe hopefully not sooner. Enough change for a while. It'd be nice to see it improved and just kind of cleared up a lot. It's a little mess around there. Neglect. Thank you.
All right, so we good to move on?
Yes,
Approval of the use of funds, the donation from the library.
we always like money.
So if you recall, I believe it was back in the fall timeframe, we received funds in the amount of $495,818 that would be for the use at Langley Adams Library and for the select board to determine how those funds are spent. So at that point in time, we had talked about trying to prioritize the capital improvements that were necessary over at the library. And as you'll see in the packet, a presentation was put together by Arthur and Steve McPherson about some of the things that they had seen when they had gone through a walkthrough. And this presentation was also provided to you in your packet formally as an FYI. And essentially, at that time, the Library Board of Trustees had agreed to the projects that were identified by both Steve and Arthur as priorities for the library, and they would like us to move forward. So in order for us to move forward, we do need an official vote from the Select Board to release the funds. I scrolled too far down, in the amount of $29,000, and that would be to replace the 2 bay windows, do the back door replacement, as well as the back window replacement.
And then what about the larger cost estimate?
So the larger projects that were identified as part of this were the roof as well as the electrical upgrades, and that is something that we've been talking about from a comprehensive standpoint for the complex as a whole. So taking into consideration the same concerns that we're having over at Public Safety, here at Town Hall, and the library. So as part of this capital improvement project for the town as a whole, we are looking to see if we can borrow monies for the replacement of the roofs as well as the electrical upgrades for the entire complex. So that's excluded from this proposal. If we are able to move forward, we are talking with our financial advisors. We are proposing potentially to have this particular donation fund a portion of the borrowing so that it would offset some of the operational costs that we would have to carry annually to support the borrowing for this project, which makes it a lot more feasible for us to proceed with. So we are narrowing in those details, but we do note that these are issues that they're having in terms of the bay windows and being foggy and leaking, the back door being drafty, as well as the window replacements being boarded up. So these were some more of the immediate fixes that the fund would be set aside for so that they could utilize it. And again, we did have conversations with the Library Board of Trustees, and they did vote to move forward with these 3 specific projects. And they also would like us to move forward with the roof replacement as well as the electrical upgrades, but obviously they don't want to expend the entire $400,000 that they were, that was part of the donation just on those projects. They would like to and thoughtfully spend that money and make it last so that they can continue to invest in the facility.
Any other questions?
So I just want to make sure I understand the clarification, so that the smaller estimate, the 29,000, is included in the 379,000 further on. So you're just basically taking out the 350,000,
Correct.
and you want to move right now on the 29,000.
Correct.
Okay, so what kind of a motion do you need for that?
We just need a motion to use the Francis.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to use the name of the grant?
Francis
The
W.
Francis
Sullivan.
W. Sullivan Charitable Remainder Trust, DECD, to use $29,000 from that trust, or donation from that donation, which is a trust, for 2 bay window replacements, the back door replacement and the back window replacement as shown on our packet.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yep, just a couple of quick questions.
Go ahead.
Just in terms of order of priority, we're replacing windows with the roof above it that's leaking. Are those new windows or new doors at any risk because we haven't done the work above it first?
From my understanding, no, but
Yeah, so the bay windows are actually.
You have to use, they don't hear you on television. And you know, that we have a whole audience of maybe 4 or 5 people.
So the bay windows are leaking. The back windows, the ones that need to be replaced, are all rotten. So the roof itself is also leaking in certain areas, but those windows are causing much more damage, not only to the structure, but books and stuff inside and the inside of the walls. So those windows, they were just never sealed. If you'll see them out, they're now sealed, and they're actually blocked off now, boarded up in the back, so they need to be replaced. I don't think that where the roof is leaking, it's not necessarily at the edges. It might be like, kind of like in here, where it's.
Gotcha.
Where it's like in the interior, but.
Yeah, I just saw in some of the pictures, like, there's, clearly broken boarding above the windows and stuff. So I'm just making sure if we're replacing those windows, we're not gonna, a year from now have to replace them again because of the damage above them.
No, there's not necessarily damage above it, like leaking in. They're more on, it's on the interior from where we went out and inspected and took all those pictures that you see there. We went out and looked, and those have been ongoing issues.
And the goal is, again, if we can replace those in the spring and we are able to take on the debt for those projects, we would be able to initiate those projects sooner rather than later. So by the next winter, we should
Yeah.
have some plan in place in terms of making sure that there's no further damage in the interim, or we'll have a better timeline as to how we're moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
So
Any other questions?
just for Rebecca, as far as the debt, I mean, I could see why, I would assume the trust, the 350,000 can earn, some kind of an interest on it. And do you think that the borrowing rate will be below that?
So we had, again, some preliminary conversations. We're talking about all 3 of the roofs
Yep.
and the electrical
Yeah.
complex. So
Okay.
you are taking a larger portion. So when we took a look, the entire project was, pull it open, I think all 3 of the roofs were $1.8 million.
Okay.
In addition to the $800,000 for the town hall electrical upgrades.
Okay,
And they were looking at a 5% rate
okay,
when we first talked to them, and they thought that was being conservative
Okay.
for what they're seeing. So we haven't finalized anything, but those were our initial conversations.
okay.
And again, if we're able to level fund our debt service or to accommodate the debt service within the operating budget.
Right.
And then have some of the donation funds offset some of those costs to, again, make sure that we can hold that in our operational budget. We're not going back to the taxpayer for any overrides or any additional funds.
Great.
So the goal is to try and make it minimal and carry the debt throughout. That way we can take on additional capital projects again. Once the roofs start to fall off, then bring on another capital project and then again carry that debt level. That way we're not dipping too much in our operational budget, and we're being cognizant of the fact that we have capital needs, and again, we're not going back to the taxpayer.
Right.
The biggest thing is we just don't want to ask for any additional money for any of the projects, and all the investments that we've made in town hall, all the investments that we just made in public safety with the move to the rec and some of the server and equipment, the last thing we want is then to just let that all just become nothing, like to Steve's point, because we didn't fix the roofs that are
Right,
leaking and
no,
badly needed.
I like the plan. I like the plan. It makes sense.
It's a good, solid plan.
Yep. So do we need.
Ed, you good? Any questions?
None.
None? We already had the motion and the second, so we'll call for the vote. Ed?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes,
Becky?
Yes.
Jason, yes. Steve?
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you very much, Arthur.
Thanks, Arthur. Good night.
And now we'll move on to the town administrator self-evaluation.
So I submitted the self-evaluation. I reformatted it slightly, just to make sure that it had all of the information, the check boxes could check and all that other good stuff. And self-evaluation, not sure you want me to go through it or just to provide it for the board. I did have a conversation with Annie, the executive coordinator, and we did talk about how she can take this, obviously, and insert it into the larger document that is also attached, and then format everything and just make sure that it's all uniform, and again, the check boxes work and everything, and then she can send that over to the board to fill out, to meet your deadline of getting this all kind of wrapped up by the April timeframe. So not
Okay.
sure, again, if you want to talk more of the logistics from a board standpoint of when the board should have their self, or sorry, not your self-evaluation, but to have the evaluation back to the chair to then assemble and then to present. I'm just not sure what process. I very much appreciate what Select Board Baker put together in terms of the format. And again, I don't know if you want me to go through what I've written. It's a lot, but I'm happy to do so. I mean, I know that the chairman always appreciates when I have very lengthy memos, this being a couple pages. Again, whatever the pleasure of the board is.
I'm happy with just having it submitted and the fact that Annie and Rebecca are going to coordinate that format so that we can just put our input in. And I think then the whole process will go fairly quickly because it's going to all be assembled automatically, right? From what Annie puts everything, everybody will put in their input, and then it will assemble itself.
So that's kind of up to, we never really kind of got to that point. We had done, like, that's kind of where I'm like at a standstill. You had mentioned wanting to do a Google form, then we said we didn't want to do a Google form, and then Select Board Baker came up with this new form, which we can kind of put into a Google form if that's what you would like, but we kind of just left it open, so I just kind of did my portion to make sure I was meeting my deadline, and figured I'd just throw it back on you
Right.
to tell me what you wanted to do.
So, yeah, I mean, I would envision that, you know, say if a member wants to do it on paper, we can provide the paper, but is it either the chairman or Annie could help put it, you know, consolidate the whole Google form? I mean, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that would make it so much simpler than these piles of paper. And even if somebody does decide they want to do it on paper, that can be scanned in and provided as part of the digital record. And to me, that's a lot better than these piles of paper where, you know, record keeping and all, it's difficult.
I think we talked about maybe not using, or at least I had suggested not using like a Google form, but maybe using something with Microsoft Forms or something.
Either way, I mean, it means the same thing. It just
As long as
automatically.
it's a fillable form.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it adds them all together, you know, and provides that summary document, I think that's what we're looking for, so that it's easy and more importantly, consistent
Yes.
from year to year as to what we're using and how we're doing it.
I highly suggest Microsoft Forms. Have you used it before? Have you guys?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep,
yeah.
that's fine. Yeah,
That way it's,
yep, it's absolutely fine that way.
All right,
So-
sounds good to me.
So I'll work with Annie and get this set up into Microsoft Forms, and then she'll send you this out. For timelines, do we want to set timelines?
I was gonna say, I don't have it in front of me, but do we have that schedule we put together? I think it was integrated into our, we had some rough dates in there. We could probably work off of that.
So
I was looking for it, but I can't seem to find it.
I have it. April is when it's
There it is.
due. But then we only have 2 meetings in April because we have town meeting and then the election, which is when we wanted to have them done prior to would be the
Right.
first Monday. So if you're looking to have a, so I guess just for clarification purposes, so you're looking, so once we do the Microsoft forms and we send it out to the board, then you're looking for us to make sure that it's compiled, to work with the software to make sure that it's compiled into one document. And then is that the document that will then be reviewed collectively, or is there any additional, because I know in the past, the chairperson provided like a narrative to that, so are we just, is that the document? Because then we could just make it your first meeting in April.
Right, I think it'd be all right for the chair to provide a cover
Yeah, I think
letter.
we had- we-
A cover letter would be nice.
Form for the chair to put together.
Yeah, a cover letter would
Yeah,
be
'cause
nice.
it all.
Not a big
once-
report.
Once you had the information from us,
Right,
then the chair just assembled it all.
but now it will be assembled automatically, so all you'll need is like looking at the summary, a cover letter that just says, this is what the summary says,
So
right?
in
Enough for me.
the instructions, it says draft public summary and finalized record for inclusion at the
Yep.
public meeting. But we would say that the first meeting in April would be the due, like, so the due date should be before that.
So if that's the case,
Okay.
probably our first meeting in March, we'd need to have it back by?
She wrote
A month.
11 pages, are you ready?
It doesn't take that long to do this. I mean, I think if everybody gets the form filled out by mid-March, it's kind of like, boom, there's only 5 of us. I mean,
What I'm saying is if we committed to having our forms done by the first meeting in March, then that would give time to assemble it and review it at the first meeting in April.
Well, if you want that much, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's more than enough time. It should be like way too much time, but that's fine. It's,
So we
Yeah.
have our meeting on February, our next meeting will be February 2nd, the following will be February 16th.
Yep.
And then the first meeting in March will be March 2nd.
all right,
So have it due by March 2nd?
Seems reasonable
Yeah,
to me.
so the form will be all filled out, ready to go, submitted to you by March 2nd, and then you get to compile it, come up with a summary.
I like it.
And we'll have Annie work on the form to get submitted, or excuse me, to get out to the board by the end of the month. So that will still give you
Okay.
a month.
yep.
That seems fair.
I think it's going to be much easier than we realize.
That's good. We like it that way.
Yep,
It's the compiling that we have to allow the time for that Annie and Rebecca are going to be doing because they'll be doing other things.
well, I think Annie has to, Rebecca can't compile her own.
I can't do that part. I can help with the form and creating the
Correct.
form, but I won't.
I
just-
don't think it'd be fair to tell her to compile her
I
own
don't really,
evaluation.
yeah.
She does enough. That's enough.
Absolutely.
Thank you for this document, though. It's very helpful.
And then we don't have any minutes to approve. Old or unfinished business. Recreation Committee and Town Meeting Study Committee review and approval of official charge and organizational documents.
So I asked this to be put under old and unfinished business because I did reach out to the Recreation Committee Chair, again, Patrick Molina. He was unfortunately out or away and did not have a chance to get back to me, but said that he would get back to me after they met. I'm not sure exactly when their meeting is, but I believe it's sometime next week.
Okay.
But I will double check on that, but I do, was it next week?
I'm not sure if it's next week or the week after, but
But
it's
it's
soon.
Yes, soon. So he'll get back to me on that. And I did reach out to the chair of the town meeting study committee, Joe Demore, and he had assembled some information that he is going to be sharing with his committee on the 28th.
Okay.
And he will be presenting at the February 2nd meeting in regards to their findings. So at that same meeting, he will also be presenting what it is that the board votes in terms of some of the feedback they had on the template that we had provided. So the tasks are still in motion. We just do not have the final product and probably won't until the February 2nd meeting and then the February 16th meeting potentially for the Recreation Committee.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, may I just ask a clarification? The committees understand that a template is in use now, so we're asking them to fill out like a vision statement and something else, not to redo the template.
Yes, and I did copy Select Board Member Baker on it as well, because he had helped with some of the assembly on the original one for the Sustainability Committee. And I was very clear, we're not asking them to fill it out, we're just asking for guidance, or if they had any concerns, or they could point us in the direction as to their mission statement, their vision, their operation.
Correct, yeah.
Or anything of that nature.
Yep, that's fine. Very good.
Awesome.
Yep.
And with that, we'll jump down to town administrator time.
So for tonight, I have a couple of items for VZ Memorial Park site visit, just to let the board know that the site visit with DCS was scheduled and took place today. I have not been able to connect with the Conservation Commission Subcommittee, but I'm expecting an update. At that point in time, I'll make sure that the Select Board is apprised of the site visit and any feedback from DCS. For grants, I did want to let you know that we had applied for a speed radar grant. We had applied for 2 of them. One of them was the location that we had discussed in terms of some of the speeding that was taking place on Salem Street near Chesterton. So we're not exactly sure what the exact location will be, because the developer for the Quarry Apartments is also going to be putting in a rapid flashing beacon, which is something similar to over by the trail, where if you hit the button, it will flash, and so that the pedestrian can cross the way. So we want to make sure that it's spaced out accordingly, but they did note, and some of the traffic data supported, that with the hill going up to Chesterton, people tend to speed up, and on the reverse on the other side. So we did ask for a speed radar sign, which has been proven effective in some other areas and other communities. And then we also asked for another speed radar sign for the area on Center Street, where the Select Board actually just recently approved a speed sign. A resident had come forward and expressed some serious concern about speeding along that area on Center Street going into West Newbury, specifically by the state-owned land. There's a lot of curves, there's no sidewalk over there. In addition, there's a lot of people who walk because the state land is over there, so they're accessing the trails. So again, we figured that that was another location in coordination with the police department that would warrant such. So we did submit those, so hopefully we are successful. I did want to give a special thank you to our town planner for assisting with the application for both of those. Just a quick update, really nothing to discuss at all, but we did have a meeting with the Whittier RAC committee on the 7th. We didn't discuss anything other than operational, who is the chair, the minutes, all that other good stuff. We did talk about the possibility of involving the state delegation into this matter a little sooner, which we had discussed in the past, but again, there was really no update, no reason to put this as an agenda item for further discussion. Hopefully at our next meeting, we will have a better update, and we will do so. The board had requested that I and the town planner look into the recreational marijuana bylaw. We had originally proposed, if you remember, just for the manufacturing component for the recreational marijuana, not the retail. We discussed that we wanted to be a little bit more business-friendly and what a potential bylaw would look like. So we're hoping to have a final draft for you at the first meeting in February, so that the board can decide whether or not it would like to move forward with putting that forward on this year's warrant. A point of clarification on the field use permit discussion. As requested, there was a bunch of different information that the board had wanted in regards to the current users of the field, the current number of players, et cetera, et cetera. Annie and I are looking to get all of that information assembled for you. In addition, we are looking at ways to engage with the league to get some feedback as to, what they think of the fees, and make sure that we had that documented, and obviously invite them in for a meeting for a discussion if necessary. So we're not really looking to get that completed until May. In addition to that, the spring season is already in effect. As we talked about, there's registration happens way earlier in January, even the beginning in December. So it just doesn't make sense for the spring 2026 season, but we can start that discussion in May, and we could be prepared to implement something for the fall 2026 season if necessary. But I did want to let you know that we are working on it, but you won't necessarily hear from us until the May timeframe. There's a lot going on, and we do still have a lot of information that we want to gather for you. For the Salem Street Dam, I know the board had requested an update. We did have our inspection done by our consultant GZA on November 3rd, in November 2025. So we do have a report. They shared with me a little bit of information, but they did not have their report finalized yet, so they are working to finalize it. Once the report is finalized, I will definitely share that with the board so that you have the full report. But I know one of the main takeaways from the board was whether or not the improvements that we had made were actually successful. And their takeaway was that it was definitely warranted, and it was an improvement, but it doesn't necessarily change the condition of the dam. It's still in poor condition, the pipe is still failing, the soil is still not compacted. We still have improvements that we need to make. But they will provide, again, a more technical report that the board can look at more fully. And then as per our enforcement with the Office of Dam and Safety, we do not need to have another inspection until November 3rd, 2027, which is great. We do also need to update, and it's not listed in the memo, the emergency action plan, which is something that we're supposed to have on file. And so I've been working with Arthur on that, and we are looking to coordinate with all of the departments to make sure that we're all on the same page. I think one of the key takeaways for us too, when we looked at that a little bit more closely, is essentially a plan for if the dam fails. So essentially, it tells you what contractor you're gonna call, what they're gonna do, you know, where they're located, all the contact information, emergency contact information. So that document's really important, so we wanna spend a little extra time putting it together. It was originally done back in 2021. So there's a lot of outdated information. So as soon as that's completed, I will also share that with the board. For permits, meetings, and administrative actions, I just have some important upcoming dates. We don't have any field permits or anything that we had issued, other than the permit that the board decided to issue this evening. I did get word from the Water and Sewer Commission that they will be hosting a public presentation on February 9th here at Town Hall in the main meeting room at 5 p.m. And they will be having a discussion on the water rate study that they had put forward. And so essentially, the proposed rate increases will essentially pay for the project, and that is going to be essentially the focus of that conversation, and how they came up with those numbers and what the plan is. Procurement and technical review conferences, there's no real updates. Projects in progress, you can take a look if there's anything specific. I'm happy to answer more questions. Community preservation projects that are outstanding, we're still waiting for the shade structures. That's gonna be something that's gonna be done in the spring. The skate park is essentially finished, except for small items such as loam, seating, et cetera. That's gonna be the spring. And the Affordable Housing and Home Repair Initiative, I'm actually hoping to have the consultant provide their final report to the CPC at their meeting in February, and once they do that, I would like to have the consultant also come before the select board and present, or at least provide you the link to the CPC meeting so that you can have all of the information and let me know if there's any additional information or follow-up that you need from me. For the financial snapshot, I just did the actual variance report as I did a few meetings ago. I did want to let you know, again, unfortunately, I am very concerned about the technology line item, which is again highlighted in red. We're at 73%. So we are watching that closely. We are anticipating that we're going to need a transfer, but we are hopeful that we will make it through until that May timeframe where we can make those adjustments if necessary. And we also have a couple of accounts that are coming in under, so we do feel as though that if we do need to make a transfer, we will have sufficient funds. But again, we are making sure that we are following that closely. Additionally, the only other line item to call attention to is actually in the building inspector. The building inspector had been successful in getting a brick grant, and that brick grant had allowed us to purchase the plotter that you see out back. That was also something that the water and sewer and the light department chipped in on it as well. And then it also paid for some code books, and then it also paid for some digitization that he was doing with his property files. He got a little eager with getting the grant finalized, and what he had originally separated out into fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27, he completed and paid for in fiscal year 26 entirely. So he does not have the budget for that. So he has expended all of his expense line item to cover, and I've been trying to find additional monies, one of which being in the technology line item, to come up with the funds to cover the remaining costs of the grant, in addition to his future expenses. So he'll need, mileage reimbursements, other types of postage for enforcements, et cetera. So I have been taking it out of my line item and my expense line item, but I don't have that large of a budget, so I don't believe that I'm going to be able to hold that for the remainder of the fiscal year. So again, we're trying to be creative with where we're allowing that money to come from now, but we will probably end up needing a transfer to his line item to cover the remaining expenses for him in order to get through the remaining fiscal year. And then the grant spreadsheet has been updated. There's a couple of new grants on there, if you noticed from last time. There's the radios and accessories, and there's also the Johnson's Creek Restoration Feasibility Study is now listed. So you'll see all of those listed in their expended amount and their balances. And then I do have the meetings, events, and seminars listed if you want any additional information there. And just also, again, not noted, but I did want to make sure that you are all aware, I did send over the fiscal year 2027 department budget requests. Those are currently going before the finance board, being the department discussions with the finance board. As you'll note, a copy of that was provided to the select board. I think a lot of departments were relatively reasonable with their requests. I think that there'll be a way for us to either work with the departments to try and accomplish what it is that they are looking to accomplish, either on a slower timeline, so that it can be accommodated within our budget. I think the only big request came in was from the fire department. The fire department is looking for 2 new full-time firefighters, or at least 1 full-time firefighter. Obviously, that opens the town up for other considerations with collective bargaining agreements, whether or not that will lead to 24-hour shifts, whether that leads to whether or not we have the facilities to accommodate, et cetera. So there are some more long-term things that we need to take into consideration with some of those requests that came forward. But I think we're in a relatively good shape, and we have had some really good conversations, being myself and the town accountant, with the departments, and we've been trying to really kind of set those expectations and understand that my goal is not to go for an override for the next 3 years. And that might be optimistic thinking, but that is my goal, and that is what I'm trying to stay with. So I'm trying to be very cautious with what we're promising in terms of what we can provide the departments and how quickly we can get departments what it is that they want without going to the taxpayers. But it's been a little bit of a different process, obviously, with the new setup in the town administrator bylaw, but I think things are going well. So if there's additional questions in terms of the budget process, I can add that to the next agenda. But again, I don't have much to really provide the board other than the department request and to maybe recap some of the conversations I've been having with the departments.
Anybody have any questions for Rebecca?
Just with the budget meetings, I did watch I recommend everyone watch the finance
Yep.
meetings, because you hear a lot about the details of what the different departments are looking for. And one sentiment that I think resonated with all of them is that they're all very mindful of, I know I'm asking for a lot, I know this takes from other budgets. I just thought that was very thoughtful. That just shows the kind of people that we have working with our town. So just wanted to say thank you. I know it's a tough conversation to have, but I highly recommend the board or even residents to watch those meetings to get an understanding of what people are looking for and where your tax money goes. That's all I have to say.
Kathy?
I just had 3 things. One, on the Water and Sewer Department rate study, is that available online at this point, digitally or not?
I don't believe so, but I will follow up with the water superintendent and see exactly what he has available. I did receive a email from the chair this evening with a PowerPoint slide, and it does have information relative to the water rate study. So I will share that with the board. So I'm not sure. Again, I haven't even looked at it. She just sent it over. this
Right,
evening.
and I've reviewed their rate studies before. I'd like to see their actual rate study, if that's possible. They have a consultant do it, so I'm just
I can
curious.
ask.
Yeah, that would be great. The second thing is, it's kind of a weird question on our side, but of all the unusual things, the Verizon outage surprised a lot of us who are on Verizon when our phones didn't work for the day. Was there any thoughts at all within the town management as to if people needed to get services or anything and they only had their cell phone? What are they supposed to do? Can they email? Can you go digital? Can they go, what?
So our phones weren't impacted, being
Okay.
town hall.
No, I'm
So-
talking about people who needed services, like emergency services, like what was there any thought about what the plan would be? Like how you would get it if your cell phones don't work?
Can I speak to that just from a technical?
Well, I'm asking if the town had a plan. I know from technical, there's ways around it. I know that. I'm just curious as to whether or not there was any, because I know even just at our school, there was concern given as to like, this is how who you can contact and send an email to if you can't come to school or if something's wrong. So I'm just asking, like,
No, I mean.
there's been no
I
great
hadn't-
explanation of why this happened, and it was for a while.
Yes, I do know
Yeah.
that it was something that was unprecedented in terms of what we experienced, but there hasn't necessarily been any communication from an internal perspective as to what we could do. If anything, I would, I would depend on default to the experts to see if there's anything that we should do moving forward, that would know what we could do to provide alternative options and/or other access. that
Well,
we could make
more so
available.
for just like 911 services, like what are you supposed to do?
So the
Yeah.
outage didn't impact 911 services. Your
But-
emergency calling was available throughout the entire outage.
On your phone?
Yes.
You sure?
Yep, it said
My-
only
my-
911 services. If you have a modern phone, like I think. if
I
you
have a modern,
It would
no,
tell
I've
you
got a
that
dial phone.
The only service that was available was 911 service.
Okay.
Um,
I didn't try that. The phone just said SOS if you try to do anything on it. It wasn't good. I'm just curious because, I mean, whenever they go unprecedented, then somewhere down the line, it becomes something that might just happen again. So I was just curious if there was any discussion about that.
No, but we can bring it up. I can talk to the police chief and fire chief and also contact the North Shore Region
Yeah, I was
911
just-
and see if they have anything. I mean, they work with multiple communities. Maybe there's something
Right.
that they could recommend.
Right, I mean, like I said, my son was like, oh, I can Zoom call you, and whatever, fine. And the third thing, the last thing, it kind of goes back to our agenda and stuff and our discussion earlier today. Is it okay to keep the Valley Screw Building on the agenda going forward? I just feel like of all the things that we talk about, that potentially could become a really, really important, serious problem at any moment.
Yeah, we have
And
no
we just
problem-
don't know. Yeah.
We have no problem doing that. I mean, it is on the ongoing projects. We've been working, like I had mentioned to you earlier today, we have been in coordination with Mass DEP, and I did speak with the woman over there to decide, what we could potentially do for next steps in terms of testing the building and trying to identify the additional hazards that would warrant EPA intervention, not necessarily from contamination, but due to the actual, construction materials, if there's asbestos in the tiles or the roofing or something, that would allow for them to trigger an additional demolition process with EPA that could potentially provide us some funding to demolish the building, giving us a potential option to move forward with, foreclosing on the site, removing the building, and just capping the site in general. So we have had conversations with them. We're scheduled to reach out to the building owner to identify whether or not they would allow us on the property to do additional testing. If not, we're also working again with Mass DEP and EPA to figure out whether or not we could be declared agents and have our consultant go in. As you are aware, Senator Tarr is aware of this issue, so he had put together some monies, an earmark of about, I believe it's $15,000 or $20,000 to accommodate the further review of the demolition of the building, and that further testing would do that. So we do have monies available, so if we were granted access, we could use those funds, do the further testing. Hopefully, I know you don't want to ever say that, but hopefully found asbestos, and then we're able to trigger that threshold with EPA and figure out exactly how much monies they would put forward to the demolition of the building. So we are working. It's just been a very slow process, but if the board would like, I'm happy to put it on the agenda and to give you updates as they come. But I do, again, have it on my memo as an ongoing project, and if there is anything that happens, I'm happy to update the board.
I mean, Rebecca, you've made the most progress that anyone has ever made on this particular, it's not just an eyesore, we're just not sure what it is, and that's the problem. Like, in the space of a heartbeat, all of a sudden, this could become a serious problem for things that we just don't know that are inside that building. And I just feel that of all the things we keep looking at and discussing, this should be one of our highest priorities and highly visible, so people understand that it's not like it's being swept under the carpet. I know years ago, the response was always, we can't do anything, we can't absorb that, we can't take on the liability, blah, blah, blah. But now you have an open site that was contaminated. The water supposedly cleared, but by the time we would find out that something was in the water again, then it would be too late, is my thought, right? So I'd rather spend a little time worrying about it, and hopefully we come to a solution that's not too difficult, and we get it done. But I'd like to see it on the agenda. I don't know how the rest of the board members feel. Carry it forward every week under old business.
Certainly can do that. Anything else, Kathy?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Steve?
Nope. I have no questions.
How about you, Ed?
He is
Bye, Ed.
Zoom.
We lost him somewhere.
We lost him.
Yeah.
I do have one question. Is it too early to get an update on the trash contract and how those discussions are going?
So I did meet with Mello today. We do have a draft contract. We are making a couple of amendments. I believe once those amendments are made, that we are essentially on the same page. Because it is a 5-year contract, we will need to put that for town meeting for a vote. But again, I'm hopeful to get a contract that we essentially have agreed upon and can present to the board. And ultimately, again, have town meeting approve and authorize, and we'll be good to go.
So everything's on track for this town meeting?
Correct. So far, everything's on track. We are also on track in terms of coordinating the purchase of the trash barrels at the 65-gallon. So we have also taken into consideration some of the feedback that we originally had about wanting to provide some residents after a certain amount of time, a smaller barrel, that one being both for the recycling as well as the trash. So we have also coordinated the pricing in for the purchase of the trash carts to also consider the smaller barrels, not just for the trash, but also for the recycling. So that's associated with the overall price that we're putting forward for free cash allocation. And we've also taken into consideration some of the things that we had talked about the disposal of the existing carts that we had. Unfortunately, after a lot of going back and forth, the haulers, they just don't go and take the carts from individual houses anymore, because they don't know how many they're gonna get. They don't know if people are gonna put trash in them or recycling in them, and it's become a problem, so they've just stopped doing it. And that's not just Mello, that's all of the haulers that we've reached out to. They just don't do it. But one of the things that we did talk about with Mello, which was really promising, is then some of the things that he's done in Topsfield and other communities is they do like a drop-off event. So they do like 2 days of a drop-off event, and you can bring any of your old carts that you're not going to utilize down to town hall, and then they will dispose of them. And that usually prohibits people from filling them with stuff, because then you can reject them, et cetera. And then they've also provided us a tonnage rate that it would cost the town. So again, as part of the free cash allocation that we're assembling, we put aside, I believe it's about $15,000 to $20,000, and that's with some extra contingencies. We could dispose of those carts for the residents. But again, that's high, and the reason that it's high is that we don't know, like if you have a trash cart and a recycling cart and you don't want it, you don't have the room, your household bringing down 2. How many households are we going to have? They're going to have 2. How many households are going to say, oh, I use mine for yard waste. Oh, I want to keep mine. I need mine for extra storage. So we estimated like the absolute worst case scenario, just in case something came through.
Okay.
And that's still, I mean, it's amount of money. It's a good amount of money, but it's not, something that we can't handle.
I think it's very helpful. I like the drop-off idea. It lets people be aware of take a look at it. Do you want it anymore? If you don't want it, make sure there's no trash or anything in it and bring it on down, get rid of it.
Yes, and I do think that the board will be very pleased with the contract that we've negotiated, or that we've been in process of negotiating. We talked a lot about a lot of the different things that the Trash and Recycling Committee had brought forward. We talked a lot about liquidated damages. We talked a lot about holidays and missed pickups and all these different things that we had talked about as part of that committee. So we were able to incorporate a lot, and I think that the pricing works in our favor. The 5-year definitely works in our favor. I do hope that that moves forward. And even at a 3-year, we'll still be in a good position if we do not move forward with a 5-year, but a 5-year does make it a lot easier for us from a sustainability standpoint. So
Yep.
hopefully I'll be able to provide that contract, draft contract for the board in the next few weeks.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Very, very nice. All right, with that, we'll move on to select board time. Kathy?
No, nothing new to report, just cold outside. Keep an eye on your neighbors. Make sure you see them. If you see me fall, stop and help me.
Becky?
Somewhat echoing that sentiment. My weather app lied to me this weekend, so I want to thank you to the town for keeping the streets nice and clean. So with all this snow and ice, I want to remind residents to be careful and help out your neighbors in need.
Steve?
I just wanted to extend a thank you to our town clerk. She was gracious enough to introduce me to the town clerk over in Georgetown, who I was able to spend some time with about a week and a half ago. She walked me through their use of electronic voting at town meetings. She had her IT staff do a demo for me. It was really good to see kind of how they're using that technology. And I provided some feedback to the town meeting study committee for them to discuss based on that meeting. So.
Nice, that's good to hear. I don't have anything, so we'll go into correspondence. And is Ed still missing? Ed's still missing.
Yeah.
We have a Massachusetts Department of Labor Standards, information in our packet in regards to the incident that we had at our highway department.
Yeah.
So I recommend everybody read that over. And that is pretty much it. So I'll take a
Motion to adjourn at 8:10 PM.
Second.
motion and a second, and since Ed's not here, we'll just vote.
All in favor?
4, 1 absent.
Thank you.
Missing in action. Thank you very much.